let's look at the episode 2 candidate favorability. This is the chart that we will show. It will have their portrait right here, their name, how favorable, unfavorable, their net, rank in polls, power rank in polls, and then among each party, how popular they are. First up, we have Senator Mark Kelly. He actually has a really high approval rating, plus 38% approve of him. But in the polls, he is not doing too good, because Democrats, if a Democrat has a high approval rating, then Democrats don't like them. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a pretty low approval rating, minus 8%, but she is doing better than Mark Kelly in the polls, surprisingly. And, but most of her approval is just coming from the Democrats. Both the other parties, they don't like her at all. And now, Governor Andrew Yang actually has the highest approval of any candidate so far. He has a plus 60% approval rating. Even Republicans approve of him by 4%. Kamala Harris also has a very low approval rating. 51% of voters disapprove of her, and negative 97% of Republicans disapprove of her. Senator Pete Buttigieg also, he just has a pretty normal approval rating, minus 5 disapprove of him. I mean, this is pretty average. And now, Ted Cruz. He also has just a pretty normal approval rating, minus 5, but 50% disapprove of him. And also, most of his approval is coming from the Republicans, and all of his disapproval is coming from the Democrats. Only 1% of Democrats approve of him. Tim Scott, the frontrunner out of any candidate so far, he actually has the second highest approval of any candidate. 90% of Republicans approve, but 82% of Democrats disapprove. So it has to average up to around 65% with the independents. Nancy Mace, she surprisingly has a high approval rating. She is one of the less known candidates. She isn't doing that good in the polls either, but she just has surprisingly high approval rating. And now, Kristi Noem. She actually has a surprisingly high approval rating too. She did drop in the polls though, so that could affect her campaign. And just clap at this. Jeb Bush. This is way higher than we thought his approval would be. He has negative 74% of voters approve of him. This is way higher than we thought it would be. He's just growing up so fast. Good Jeb. We have some big news right now. YouTube star American Predictions just announced he is campaigning for Tim Scott in 2032. American Predictions recently just hit 100 trillion subscribers. Tim Scott now is going up big in the polls. He is now the frontrunner for the Republican Party. Yet again, another Democrat has announced a 2032 campaign. Senator from Pennsylvania, Conor Lam, has just announced his campaign. He is right now the lowest in the polls, though, because all the people ahead of him are super well known. Former Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse has just announced his campaign. He is really unpopular right now among Republicans. He even was out primaried 2 years ago in 2030 in his Senate election. And he is really unpopular because back in 2020, he did try to impeach Donald Trump. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul has just announced his 2032 campaign. He did try to run against Ron DeSantis in the Republican primary all the way back in the year 2024. But he did lose. He did end up dropping out of the race because he was not doing too good in the primary elections. Former House Representative Beto ORourke has just announced his 2032 campaign. He has been trying to run for governor of Texas every single year that they've had a governor election. He's also been trying to run against Ted Cruz for the Senate election every single year that he's been up in the Senate race. But yet he has been losing by barely small margins every single year. Former Louisiana Governor Bel Edwards has just announced his 2032 campaign. He is expected to win Louisiana in the Democratic primary. He also is expected to win some of the debates. He might be a really strong candidate for the Democrats. We have some sad news right now. Former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has just announced her 2032 campaign. She's losing in the polls by wide margins. She's very unpopular among every single party. She probably doesn't even stand a chance at beating any Republican primary candidate. Vice President Hawley has just announced his 2032 campaign. This is really big. He is now the frontrunner for the Republican parties and one of the favorites to win the election. He is Ron DeSantis' vice president. Ron DeSantis has been a really popular president among Republicans. Democrats do hate him, though, because his party is a Republican. California Governor Gavin Newsom has just announced his 2032 campaign. He actually is one of the frontrunners for the Democratic nomination. He is really unpopular among Republicans, though. Former Arizona Senator Kristen McCain has just announced her 2032 campaign. She actually is really popular among all parties, so she does actually have a good chance of becoming the nominee. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has just announced her 2032 campaign. She doesn't really have that big of a fan base anymore, except for there is one popular fan named Facts and Imagination to Win on YouTube. Former Georgia Governor Kemp has just announced his 2032 campaign. He is really unpopular. He was primaried against by lots of Republican candidates back in 2028, and he did lose the nomination by a wide margin. New Jersey Governor Cory Booker has just announced his 2032 campaign. Kamala Harris, the frontrunner now for the Democratic Party, has just said that she might be picking Cory Booker or Beto ORourke to be her running mate because she is certain that she will win the nomination. Hawaiian Governor Schatz has just announced his 2032 campaign. He is not really that well known, so he is one of the smaller candidates for the Democratic primary, so he probably won't win the nomination. Newly elected Indiana Governor Todd Young has just announced his 2032 campaign. He is now one of the rising stars of the Republican Party. He actually is doing really well in the polls right now. Now, let's look at the 2032 announced Democratic candidates. Kamala Harris is currently the frontrunner of Beto ORourke in second. Pete Buttigieg and Cory Booker are trailing behind them by small margins. And also AOC and Gavin Newsom are actually also some of the they are some frontrunners. And Mark Kelly actually has become a frontrunner now along with Andrew Yang. And then just the kind of just mediocre candidates, Bel Edwards, Kristen McCain, Conor Lam, and Schatz. None of these candidates are really popular, and they probably won't win the nomination. While for the Republican Party, Hawley, Tim Scott are both tied for the frontrunners right now. These debates are going to be huge. Republicans are really excited for the debates, and Ted Cruz and Kristi Noem are barely trailing behind them, while also Rand Paul is trailing behind them, and Nikki Haley and Nancy Mace and Todd Young are just some of the mediocre candidates, and then these are just all the unpopular candidates: Ben Sasse, Brian Kemp, Jeb Bush, just please clap at that, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, which most people don't even know why she even exists. I have made another Google form. I will leave it in the link for the description for this video. Please subscribe. My subscriber rate just completely blew up lately. I just really don't know what to say. Just really glad about this. Just thank y'all. Please subscribe. Hopefully we can get 75 subscribers soon. I don't have a 75 subscriber special planned, so just please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.